Don't Say Gay Senate Committee rejects Republicans' attempt to tone down bill. Republican Florida Senator Jeff Brandes of St. Petersburg recently suggested an amendment to the controversial Don't Say Gay bill as it moves to the Senate for discussion. Currently, the bill bars teachers from discussing gender identity or sexual orientation in kindergarten through third grade, or in ways that are not, quote, developmentally appropriate for other grades. Instead of restricting schools from teaching young kids about sexual orientation and gender identities, Brandes' amendment would have stopped schools from conducting lessons on human sexuality or sexual activity. Brandes said, quote, "If the intent is not to marginalize anyone, let's make sure we aren't. Let's be clear and clearly define and say that conversations about human sexuality or sexual activity that fall outside of state guidelines should not occur. We can do this," end quote. Proving that the bill is entirely about being anti-LGBTQ and not about protecting children from conversations about sex, the bill's sponsor, Senator Dennis Baxley, said that the amendment would, quote, gut the bill, and it was voted down by the Republicans in the state Senate.
There it is.
They're going all in on hate.
Yep.
Basically.
That's what it is. They're going all in on hate.
Yeah.
All the chips to the center of the table.
And masking it.
Yeah. You know, it just wrapped up a few minutes ago at 6 o'clock tonight down in Miami Beach. As I mentioned at the top of the show, there was the rally, and yesterday we talked about the banner planes that they tried to hire, and then a company refused to fly Don't Say Gay behind them. I can tell you that I talked with Scott this afternoon. They were able to find another contractor, and the banner planes did fly over several South Florida high schools this afternoon, over Wilton Manors, and presumably down at 6 o'clock down at the Miami Beach Pride. I'm going to talk to him later and do a whole wrap-up on this controversy and the latest movements in Tallahassee that'll be in South Florida Gay News on Thursday.
Does the conclusion of what happened yesterday, does it surprise any of you in terms of Senator Brandes trying to move it to, you can't talk about sex in school in this age group, preschool to third grade, which seems pretty obvious anyway, but you can't talk about sex in any way, and then that takes the entire issue away, and the rejection. Does it surprise you what happened?
What surprised me that he was a Republican that proposed it, but it doesn't surprise me that they rejected it because it's very clearly been.
Brandes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like all Republicans are bad. Like, we don't want to put just because of someone's political affiliation doesn't always mean they're a bad person or that they
Al's
have
a Republican.
bad intent. See? I'm kidding. I don't know, and I'm not gonna sign off on that.
Point
made. But yes, it's something. To me, he was trying to make a point. He was trying to make the point that this bill has nothing to do with actually keeping kids safe, but furthering the agenda of LGBTQ hate and harming people, starting with our kids.
You know, you work with LGBTQ youth at Sunsurf, in how this is digested for you and your position in dealing with young people in schools. What do you think is behind this? I mean, your gut reaction of what is it they want from these actions?
My gut reaction, and this will sound so horrible, I'm still gonna say it, they want to stop making more queer kids. Long story short, because that's all that it's aiming to do, is to force kids who are literally, how many hours do they spend in school? The same amount of time that we spend at work, supposedly 8 hours, correct? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, 6 to 8
Yeah,
hours.
so 6 to 8 hours of their day, of 24 hours that they're not fully awake. A good portion of that is them being asleep for 24 hours of a day. 6 to 8 hours are at school, the rest of that time they're at home. Those are their two main hubs. If they don't have a safe place to go where they can have the conversations, where they can see different ways of life, hear different opinions, they're not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel heard. They're not going to feel like they're able to grow. So at the end of the day, what it seems to me is that they're just trying to make it so that, okay, we don't have any more queer kids, get rid of that issue altogether by making it that, okay, we can't have these discussions at all. And just saying, all right, so from a certain grade point to a certain grade point, kids have questions at all points. My niece is 2, and she asked me the weirdest little things, like, what's that? And she's pointing at like sanitary napkins, and I'm like, I'm not gonna have this conversation with a 2-year-old other than this is Annie's, okay, thank you, and walking away.
You know, it's interesting to me, if your assessment is accurate, then we come right back to Glenn's point of view and our conversation point of view about Gallup poll and the Williams Institute. The number is likely much, much higher. But unless you have comfort, you're not going to express it. And that's what you just told us. The goal and the desire is to repress your comfort level of being able to express who you are. And as a result, there's less of you.
Yes.
That's terrible.
And based on if this was to pass, our numbers in the Gallup poll next time will show that there are less LGBT people in our community.
Yeah, terrible.
So.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ